brought to us by Capri Tools. Hey, Capri Tools, they're the best. Go check out their website. They've got some great product offerings out there that'll help you make sure that your tools don't break on you. That's the worst when you get some, I'm not gonna say what local brand you're getting, but they usually break on you, right? Capri Tools never break, always reliable. What we're gonna talk about today is tire management. In endurance sports car racing, when you talk about Lucky Dog, Champ Car, World Racing League, all of us are running on what is called a 200 wear rating tire. And that type of tire hopefully lasts for quite a long time, right? You're not gonna go out like it's a professional race and throw them away every hour and a half. So if we can properly manage those tires, we can get the maximum life out of them and at the same time making sure that we don't run on the cords. All right, so here we are with a forge line wheel and a Yokohama tire that we run on with Team Salem. So a couple things before we're getting started into the details of the tire itself. You notice on the rims, we go ahead and mark the tire, the rim, so that we know if it's a rear or a front. I know that sounds kind of weird, but if you have a type of car that has different sizes on the front and the rear, you need to make sure you're marking those because we have rims and we have tires that are different front to rear. We don't need to be mounting a front tire on our rear rim. You also notice that we marked on here that this is a rear tire. Again, you're going to be having crew come in for the weekend. Maybe they're not normal people who work on your car during the weekends when you're off races. So you want to make sure you do this as much as you can to dummy-proof errors. So again, we put on here rear tire. So if people are grabbing a rear tire, they know that. And Yokohamas are fortunate they're universal. You can go left or right on them. But if you're running the type of tire like, let's say, a Bridgestone, where lefts are particular to one side versus the other, you need to make sure you would put left rear, right rear on there, okay? So again, let's just kind of flip this tire around here. So one of the situations you have here with a tire is the depth of it, okay? And as you wear out a tire, it gets shorter and shorter and shorter in its depth. So usually the depth goes away on the end. So if you can get a lot of camber into a tire, you're gonna have it here. But usually we don't wear out the middle. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a depth gauge. And I'm gonna show you here in a second what that depth gauge looks like. So here's a depth gauge that we got from Longacre. And probably it's something that maybe not every team needs to have in endurance sports car racing. We have this left over from when we used to run the IMSA WeatherTech series. So that in that regards, we already had it. But again, I would recommend, so you can see it gives you this ability to do the depth gauge. And this was very important when we were running slicks because you can't tell the depth like you can on one of these. So what trick do you use on a 200 wear rating tire with tread on it? Well, guess what? You can just take like a penny and put it on there and check the depth by how much of the penny's into the tread, okay? So again, I would recommend you use a penny or some kind of tool that allows you to just get to that depth. You can't really quite get a ruler in there, but you get my point. Use like a penny, a quarter, and then once you pull it out, you can see how much of each depth you start and end with. On a Yokohama, it starts out at 7/30 seconds, so anything less than that, we would help us figure out how much is left on that tire. Now, a couple tricks I want to share with you, and again, if you don't have them already, I recommend you go to your local hobby store and you can get a Sharpie pen, right? An ink pen, or a lot of times if you go to your local tire dealer, they have these little clay pens. So again, we've already talked about marking where the tire is, left rear, right rear, etc. But I'm going to give you a couple other nuances that I see in a lot of pro teams do, and we've done as well when we ran like in the IMSA series. And that is every time you come off the track, you keep track of how long that tire's been on the car. So let's say you just ran a 60-minute practice session. You can put 60 minutes on there. I'm just going to do it real lightly here because I don't want this on here forever. And then let's say the next time you go out, you actually put on 3 hours. So you can put 360. And that helps you then keep track of how many minutes are on that tire. Because you do get to a certain point in time, especially on heat cycling, that probably almost any tire past about 6 heat cycles and or 10 hours is probably going to have to be disposed of. Even though there might be some tread on it, you have lost all the grip when you go past a certain amount of minutes and a certain amount of heat cycles. So if you do it in this manner like I'm suggesting, you can not only total up the number of minutes, but each time you do that, you can also count up the heat cycles. Small little tip, but one that hopefully might help your team not run into a situation where you're running on cords, because nobody wants to come into the pits and have the cords showing.